everybody. Okay, we're going to have a lot of people on here. And as you come in, we'll join. I'm going to run down the quick rules because I think we have some new people that haven't been on calls before. I have such an exciting guest for us tonight. I was telling, we have Guillot, right? Guillot?
Yeah, Guillot.
We have Jeff Guillot here. And basically, I still feel like I'm pronouncing that wrong, but I think that's the curse of being a narrator. So you guys know me, the rules. If you can find it on Google, don't ask it here. This is nothing wrong with those calls where you call in and you ask the publisher, how do you prefer we contact you? How do we get work with you? This call is not that. If you don't remember, you should check it out. We had Jonathan Tilley on recently, and he was talking about, he's that branding guy, the get the customers, build your list. And he was saying that if you're going to be sending contacts to publishers, the question you should be asking yourself is, who do they hang out with around the coffee machine? Who's their best friend at work? What do they do? Are they part of the work football team? A lot of people are working from home. Are they working in their pajamas when you're sending them letters asking for, the best thriller book? Those kind of things. And how will you ever know that if every time you're near a publisher, you're just like, look at me, hire me. And Johnny Heller said it best. He said he gets a little bit uncomfortable when he feels that people are hiring him for coaching and they're just trying to impress him. It's all about, what does he think of me? And I think the key is, we're all human beings. Let's get to know who we really are. And then that way you won't have to worry about how to word the perfect contact email to say, there's no magic formula, guys. I can tell you right now, send letters regularly, be polite, be professional, be good at what you do, and then just be patient. That's it. And let's find out about Jeff. And I'm going to start with, and you're allowed to ask, so does that mean that we need to ask Jeff what his favorite pajamas are? Well, you guys, no bets are off. So I did warn Jeff that questions are allowed, but they must be quirky questions, and he is quite prepared. And I do like to start with my first question because I think it informs so much about the people on the call, Jeff. My very first question is, 10-year-old Jeff, who were you at 10 years old? What was your dream? What did you want to do? What did you want to be?
Oh, wow. I don't know if I remember, but I think it had something to do with either being a fireman or being an astronaut. I think it was in those realms.
I like that. Fireman or astronaut. Would you still do either of those things if given the chance?
There was serious consideration when I was living in LA and looking for something. It was a period of time when I was looking to step out of the audiobook world, and getting into the firefighting situation in California was appealing, and it just never went anywhere. Here at this point, no, probably not. I really like where I am now.
I was going to say, in California, there are a lot of fires.
Exactly.
I could maybe want to be a fireman, Alaska. So are you from LA? Where are you from originally?
I grew up on Long Island. I was there for, from when I was born in 81 to 2007, born and raised Port Jefferson Station on the North Shore of Suffolk County.
You don't have a very big accent, though. Did you used to have more of one?
I think so. I was in LA between 2007 and this past August, and I think LA chipped away at it. And I'm certainly not going to find it again here in Texas. Although every now and again, when I'm talking to somebody, they pick up on it. They say something and it reminds them of the East Coast, and they'll say, are you from the East Coast or something? Are you from New York? So I don't know. I think there's certain words that still come out. When I go back to see family, it usually kind of, it comes back for a little bit.
Yeah, you pick up on it. And Yeah. So why did you move? What made you
leave Long Island?
Yeah. Did you move straight to LA or?
Yeah, the story there was I was in my junior year of college and I had just finished finals. One of my longtime friends, I mean, going back to first grade, he lived two houses down from the house I grew up in. He was in the Marines and he was stationed in Camp Pendleton. And he calls me and he's like, Jeff, my wife does not want to drive cross country again. She's going to fly with the baby. What do you think about coming out to San Diego, spending a week here, and then we'll do a cross country trip together? And I was like, in between semesters, I had nothing to do. I was like, absolutely, sign me up. So I flew out to San Diego. Before I even made it out of the airport, I made a decision that I was going to live in San Diego.
Why?
And,
Why that soon?
It was beautiful. It was just absolutely beautiful. That was it. I was just captivated, like absolutely captivated with San Diego.
How old were you at the time?
I mean, like 20, oh God, how old was I? So maybe 2004, 81. I don't know, 81. I was born in 81 and maybe this was 2004. Yeah, because we graduated high school in 99 and he was in the Marines for 5 years. So it was 2004.
So you were young enough that like all of life was stretching in front of you and you're, that must have been exciting.
So, we did hung out there a week. We drove from San Diego to Long Island in 48 hours. A funny note about that, we stopped in Texas at one spot to use the bathroom and we get out and we're walking back to the car and a bug that flew and it had teeth and it was huge and it tried to bite my face. I punched it. I straight up punched it in the mouth. I ran to the car. I looked at my buddy Nick and I was like, I'm not sleeping in Texas and I'm never coming back to Texas. Here I am in Texas. So we make our way back to Long Island. I finish up my undergraduate work. I have an undergrad degree in psychology. And then I coerced a buddy of mine to become an audio engineer. And I pushed us towards Los Angeles to go to LA recording school because LA.
Where did that come from though? Like,
I was a music guy, I grew up playing guitar and I kind of knew that I didn't want to be a rock star like that. That really wasn't where I wanted to go with it. So I started looking at other avenues. What can I do with music? And audio engineering seemed like super cool. Like, I can be an audio engineer and we'll produce the next Metallica or Pantera or something. And, I had a buddy that was not a musician, but felt the same way about it. So we wind up in LA, going to LA recording school. I never made it to San Diego. I mean, I visited San Diego, but I never actually lived in San Diego. And just kind of anchored up in LA for quite a few years.
Are you from a big family? Because you notice a theme in your life. You've got friends, good friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you talk about a lot of people's lives, it's, I did this, I did that. Every single thing you mention in your life is connected with, I did it with this friend. Is that the part of it that you like? Is the working with someone, hanging out with someone? And did you come from a big family?
No, I didn't come from a big family. Family was really small. It was me, my mom, and my brother. Had a dad that was there for a bit, but haven't seen him since I was 10. So the family was small, but then like where I grew up, there were so many kids in the same age group growing up together within just a few blocks. So there
I just heard your accent. I just heard your accent. Got it right there. Talking about growing up, it brings it back. So you grew up with you learned the power of friendship at a young age.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. I like that. Do you think that's made it kind of a nicer life, doing things with friends?
Of course. I mean, the social aspect of life is so important, and it's just been there for me. And like, I wouldn't say I'm an extroverted person by any means, but I've always sort of just connected with folks and have a good time with people.
But that could explain, couldn't it, why I've got a couple of other publishers booked for calls, and you say, I've got such and such publisher, and people are like, oh, but every time I said I had you, come to this call, It was, oh, ask him about the marathon. Every single person was like, oh, he's my friend. And maybe that's like a kind of a special, maybe that's a skill, like a real skill that people instantly feel like they connect with you.
I mean, it could, I'm just me. Like, I don't think I'm
Yeah.
necessarily anything special. I certainly was introduced to this community through the years that I was at Dion Audio, and I met a great many narrators that way. You know,
Yeah.
it was definitely an active scene. I was studio manager. I was sort of the front facing person for quite a few years. And one of the things Deb told me when I was studio manager, one of my primary job responsibilities was to hug everybody that walked through the door. So I just, somebody would come in and I'll just hug them. That's how a lot of that started.
Yeah, I'm not a hugger. I'm not good with that. Do you miss that now? I guess you're missing that with like COVID and all the.
It has definitely been a strange couple of years.
Do you think hugging will ever come back? I am not a hugger. I'm one of those people that gets really uncomfortable if I see somebody come at me. But
yeah, I would say my wife's kind of like that. Like I hug my wife entirely too much.
yeah, I'm not good with. So did you meet your wife in LA?
I did. We actually met on eHarmony. It was
Oh,
the
I
end of
love that.
2008 or the beginning of 2009. I met her basically right when I was starting work with Dion Audio.
So that's okay. So you've moved to LA. You've started work at Dion Audio, and this is the job that you'd set out to do. What about your friend? Did your friend end up doing the audio stuff?
Kind of. It didn't necessarily work out that easy. We had done a year at LA recording school. We both finished. He was working at Broken Wave Studios, which is no more. It used to be a Yamaha research facility. It's now a doctor's office. And I do believe that there is a beautiful plate reverb unit in the attic there, because I don't know how anybody could have got it out of that attic. And I don't think the doctor knows what it is.
I don't know what it is.
A
What is
plate
it?
reverb. It's what they use to get reverb before plugins. I guess is an
Oh,
easy way to
okay.
explain it.
Okay. But now it's a mini mall.
It's a doctor's office.
So
Yeah.
where did
So
he end up? Do you know?
the studio shut down. He wound up moving back to LA and getting involved in the construction industry. I had interned a bit in the music industry and music studios, and it is awful. If you guys don't know about that, being an intern at a music studio in LA, you are essentially on call 24/7. They don't pay you. You are expected to do everything and anything at any hour of the day.
And they don't
If you don't,
respect you very well, do they?
oh, not at all. If you don't answer the phone at 2 o'clock in the morning, you get bumped to the bottom of the list. And you do this for a period of time until they decide to hire you and pay you minimum wage, which in 2008 was not what it is today. And what it is today is not enough if you're living in LA. But that maybe is a different conversation.
Yeah.
And it was just sort of doing the resume game. And I I interviewed at Paramount Recording Studio, and the guy's like, we'll give you $8.50 an hour. And I was like, okay, can you give me 83 hours a week? And he looks at me like I'm crazy. And I was like, nobody's paying my rent. What do you expect me to do? The only way to survive is if you can promise me the hours.
That's the side of LA and it makes, do you not find that it makes everything so much more intense because you're surrounded by wealth? You're watching and also there's always the feeling that you're one day away from finding a way to be one of those people, and you can find the field of dreams and and you always have some friends that are living that life. And then there's like Jimmy the drug addict on the corner of your house, even though you live in a relatively nice neighborhood, and you're like, you're starting to think your best career move is maybe turning those carts in at Ralph's and getting the coins back. It's like it's black and white. You're seeing always one step away from being filthy rich or really like living under a bridge. And I hear it's worse now that there's a big
Absolutely.
homeless.
Oh yeah, the homeless situation is crazy out there. Even in Austin, I mean, it's crazy.
Is it in Austin? See, I always thought that Austin was protected from that it was a thriving economy and it was.
Well, I think to make a little bit of a joke here, I think there has been a wild influx of the exodus of LA is leading directly to Austin.
Okay.
And with that, there is a pretty hefty homeless population here living in tents under overpasses. And even in our, we're in Scribe's office, there's a dude living in a tent on the other side of the fence. It's tough, it's tough.
So how long was it tough in LA before you started working for Dion?
It was never easy in LA. It was
Okay.
Even working with Dion, it was never easy, and it really was never comfortable.
Yeah, I remember that. You hope your car doesn't break down because taking the bus in LA is not fun.
Oh my God, there was a lady I worked with at Dion Audio, and that happened to her. Her car broke down. She was taking the bus to and from work for about a week. After the second day, she told me about what was happening to her on the bus, and that she didn't take the bus to her. I picked her up and dropped her off on the way home.
Okay, so I like this guy more and more. Now I get what you guys all love about him. Okay, so how long were you with Dion?
12 and a half years.
And when did you start casting?
At Dion Audio, there was a little bit early on when I sort of assisted with casting. And for folks that follow Dion Audio, you've perhaps heard the story about how Audible dropped 300 or 400 titles on us and asked us to get it done in 3 to 4 months.
Wow.
That was a time when the company underwent a lot of growth, and what I did changed pretty drastically. So that was my first foray, I guess you could say, into casting or helping with casting. I sort of got back into it a little bit shortly, in the last few years I was there, as I started project managing jobs for indie publishers and self-published authors. I would either cast or I would work with the casting team that exists at Dion Audio to find, great narrators for the job. And then coming into Scribe, it's really, I am the entirety of the audiobook department here.
So how did this happen? How long? It was recent, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And did you have like a bit of a, should I do this? Am I worried? Or
oh, you're gonna like the story, Daniela. No.
Yes, tell me the story.
So, Scribe was one of the accounts that I managed at Dion Audio. So going back about 3 years, all of a sudden, Scribe reaches out to us. We start producing audiobooks for Scribe. I become their person. I'm working with a number of the different publishing managers here, like 6, 7, 8, I think it was 10. I don't know how many there are now. It's grown so much. But what I noticed about Scribe and emailing and being in communication with the publishing managers, there was such a different vibe that I was getting from Scribe than the rest of the publishing industry. There are great people throughout the publishing industry, right, but there was something different happening here, and it was coming through in such a positive way in the communication. So I started looking into Scribe. And like I said, this is like 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
I check out their website. And I would implore all of you to check out Scribe's website, because we need more companies like this. There is no question about that. And was so impressed. And at the same time, I thought it was some, happy little cult floating around in Texas, because when you grow up in New York, all you know about Texas is there's cults. So that's what I thought Scribe was. And I tell
when
them
you grow up in California, you just think they're all cowboys.
Right, cults and cowboys. So I had actually started the process to shift over to Scribe about 3 years ago. I had shot an email outside of the Dion world to
What did
one
you
of the,
like about it, though? What
ev-
was it?
everyone was so consistently positive in their communication. They were so organized. They asked great questions. Nobody here understood anything about audiobooks. They kind of still don't, but they asked great questions. And it was so easy to work with them. It was never, it's funny being on this side of it now, because Scribe's number one value is people. We're a people first company. We take care of the people. And looking back on communication with them, that's how the communication presented itself. It's not that no projects were ever a rush or nothing needed to go through quick, but whatever happened, they would make sure that the people at Dion Audio were okay and the narrator was okay.
Do you know what? Nobody does that. And I gotta say, I've got to shout out to Find a Way, because one of my authors died between book 3 and book 4. And it was horrible. And and I wasn't even close to this author, but I'd just done her book and it was just horrible. And I let them know, I don't know what's going to happen. This probably isn't going to get approved. And I expected, because these days, sorry, I didn't mean to derail you, but this is so pertinent, I swear. I expected timelines, this and that. I didn't get that from Find a Way. I got a human message back saying, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I hope you're okay. Were you very close? We're reaching out to the family. This is horrible. And the next day I received payment for the unapproved book. And I got another message from somebody up higher at Find a Way. We're so sorry, and that, to me, they now have like my loyalty to the end of the earth, because that's all you need to do is remember that we're human beings behind this. And that's for a long time, that's the first company that's reacted that way. I've not run into anything. I'm not saying other companies are doing anything badly, but that makes me think of what you're talking about, Scribe. When you see them behave that way and they didn't have to, immediately you're like, I'll do anything for you. What do you want?
Right?
Bring me on the team. Yeah, that's impressive. That's good to hear about Scribe. So go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh no, all good. So that was it. That was it. That was what attracted me. So I had reached out to one of the PMs here and said, hey, I'm applying for this job. They had an opening. She's like, why don't you apply for this other job? So I applied for that other job. They came down, they flew me out here. I interviewed with them, and they just weren't ready for me.
Because you loved them, or because you kind of wanted to move to Texas as well?
Oh no, I don't really have a strong desire to live in Texas. I miss the ocean a lot. I am here
Barbara's
because I love
laughing her
this.
head.
I love this company. I absolutely love Scribe.
Oh, I love that. So they didn't have a place when you first applied.
And it was about 3 years later when the CEO reached out to me, Javon McCormick, and he said, hey, we're ready for you. Are you still interested? And I had sort of been slamming my head against the wall for the last 3 years because I couldn't find it out. Like resumes were going everywhere and I couldn't get out of where I was. But this was where I wanted to be. So I was like, of course I'm ready. When do you want me there? And that was it. Here we are.
I love that. And I've got to say to Barbara and to all our Texas friends out there, Mandy and Linda, if you're watching this, we all love Texas. The only thing I really know about Texas now is the people, the friendliness and the people and everything. But when you've not been somewhere, you're at the mercy of. I've got a couple of quirky questions. I don't want them to fall down the list, so I'm going to throw them at you now.
Sure.
From Barbara, have you ever pranked anyone? If yes, who and what was the prank, or vice versa? Best prank on you?
Okay, have I ever pranked anyone? So this, I love scaring people, and that's that. I have a lot of fun with that. So one story at Dion Audio, this was completely inadvertent. We had a guy that was running a session in the downstairs studio there in Tarzana. And I think I just needed to ask him a question if he could like work a double that day or pick up a session the next day. So I go in there and, the door is in back. Like you enter the control room from in back of them. And of course you're being quiet because you really don't want to interrupt the session for this. And I tap the guy on the shoulder and he screams and flies out of the chair. And that for me, that was not the way to react, because now it's just like every chance I get.
I know that sounds like a guilty conscience to me.
So there was that. There was another time where we're sitting in Tarzana at Dion Audio, and in Deb's office there was a doggy door. There was a door where you can go to the backyard from Deb's office. There was a doggy door there, and one of my buddies, Cooper, was on the phone kneeling next to the doggy door. So I tell this guy Brandon sitting next to me, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go mess with him through the doggy door. So Brandon starts like with his camera, he's casually filming this thing, and I go into Deb's office and I stick my hand out the doggy door and I grab his ankle hard. And he's mid serious conversation on the phone. And again, this is a completely different person, but screams and jumps up and flies out of there. So I love doing this. I do that to my wife all the time. She hates it. She hates it.
With the hugging and all that, I'm not sure your poor wife.
I got one more for you. I got one more, and this is probably my favorite. So Jamie Dupras, who is still at Dion Audio. I'm not sure if any folks have had interactions with him. Jamie he and I had sort of an unofficial race to the studio each day. We came from two different places. On the days I won, I would see him walking up and I'd go and I'd hide behind the door. And when he'd walk through, I'd jump out and scare him. And I can't tell you how many times this happened. And I'm telling my father-in-law about this story one day, and he goes, my father-in-law also likes to scare people. So he gives me this idea. He goes, you got to go low, get on the floor and come at him like a dog, because people aren't expecting that. And it's going to trip them up even more. So the next day. I'm
thinking about Jonathan Tilley saying, you've got to get a picture of what they're doing at the publisher's offices. And now I'm seeing you all running around on the floor, scaring the hell out of each other.
The first time I did that to Jamie, holy crap. Well, I thought he was going to die. I'll give you one more about Jamie. And this was fantastic. Sure enough, there's Jamie. He's walking in and I'm like, oh, I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him. And I go and I hide, do my thing, and I'm waiting. And the door opens and I jump out low on the floor and scream. Jamie's not at the door. It was a PRH director and a narrator that was coming to have a session with us.
How did you explain it? Did you say, oh, sorry, I thought you were someone else?
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Can you imagine if that was the poor narrator's first chance to work in studio? I love that. Okay, what's the weirdest holiday gift you've ever received?
I don't think I've gotten any. I don't think I've gotten any weird holiday. I think holiday gifts have all been like normal. They've all been normal things. I think I had a switch in my adult life. Like I don't want more things. I want less time and more quality time. So I don't like, even my wife, she just, Christmas rolls around and she's like, what do you want? I'm like, I want to have a vacation with you. I don't want
lovely.
things.
That's nice. You're talking to a girl that just bought a pair of red sparkly faux fur boots. So I think I might have gone the opposite direction. I love that though. That's what they say you're supposed to do. They say that you'll never regret not having enough things, but you'll always regret not having enough time.
Yeah.
I definitely have enough things. Okay, next question. As a vegan, Jen wants to know, as a vegan, I want to know what Jeff the vegan's favorite just happens to be vegan junk food is. Mine is spicy sweet chili Doritos. Ooh, are those vegan?
I don't know, I'm not a big Doritos guy. For me, the key junk food is chocolate chip cookies or vegan ice cream. Vegan chocolate chip cookies, vegan ice cream, that's they don't last long at home.
Because vegans are like really hardcore. Because I'm like, I eat fish, but like I don't. Vegans are like, you guys don't even use leather, right? That's
Yeah,
like vegan, like
yeah,
really, really hardcore. I like
yeah.
that. I'm impressed by that. I do. I bury a bit of my subconscious. I eat fish, and I only turned vegetarian by accident. Where because my
But
husband turned vegetarian and I didn't believe him. I was sure he would quit after a week, and there's no way I'm quitting before him. And now it's been like 14 years. And,
oh
but
wow.
when you're from an Italian family, did you grow up eating meat?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I grew up eating all sorts of meat. I love seafood. You know, there's a big seafood culture on Long Island. Italian food. Lasagna was my favorite thing.
I do miss Italian food because I'm sorry, that fake meat just isn't, it just isn't the same. It's, it's just not. But once you stop, you can't. When you stop for
Yeah,
the purpose of not eating an animal, you can't. Do you
yeah.
know what I mean? I had a bird
No.
the first time I stopped eating. I remember I was making a turkey. And when I first realized how intelligent birds were, and I kept looking over and I swear he was giving me funny looks. And the guilt. Okay, quirky question from Joel. What musicians would you invite to join you in your dream jam session?
Oh wow. David Gilmour, Robert Plant for sure. Those are big guys for me. Might invite John Petrucci from Dream Theater because he's just an amazing guitarist. But those, yeah, and Roger Waters, maybe not as much Roger Waters. I guess the way to answer that is my brother had me listening to Led Zeppelin before I came out of my mom. There was no question about
What
that.
was the
So
age difference, you and your brother?
he's 10 years older than me.
So was he like your hero?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Are you guys still close?
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, he's still on Long Island with his wife and their kid, but
No,
we
but
still,
still.
yeah,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
will always be my brother.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, I love that. I love people that carry on traditions because somebody they loved something. So I think sharing the love of something because you're honoring somebody you love and admire is like the greatest compliment. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I love
Yeah.
that. Um, Quirky question from Barbara. Barbara never lets me down. Favorite
Thank you,
sports and
Barbara.
team.
Um, okay, I'm a New York Mets guy, but I don't I'm not religious about it. I came to life in the mid 80s when the Mets were rocking the series and my family was standing around cheering, and that's when I learned that I was a Mets fan. I lost touch with baseball for a lot of years, and actually at the onset of COVID, for whatever reason, I looked at my wife and I was like, I miss baseball. So I
I
went and
was
I
going to
got the
ask you a
MLB
football
package.
question. When you said
Um,
Mets, I was like, oh, they're a good football team.
oh,
So
Daniela.
COVID, so you missed baseball because of COVID.
So I got back into it, and you know, the Mets are doing what the Mets do. It's just that's the Mets. Uh, for football, I roll with the Giants, but it's far looser than my connection to the Mets. And with hockey, I'm an Islanders guy, but I honestly can't remember the last time I watched a hockey game.
But are you like with the Mets? Like, I know that like the first time I realized my husband, if his team lost, he was genuinely depressed, like really upset. Like, I didn't understand that was a real thing. I
I'm
assumed,
not I'm not like that. That is
are
a
you not
real
like,
thing. That is a
that is a real
very,
thing for
very
some
real thing.
people.
Yeah. Some people get very, very attached. I really just love I love sitting down and watching baseball games. Um, I just enjoy it. And it's not, of course, I want the Mets to win, but holy shit, I've been watching the Mets long enough to know they're not going to win. So it's like on the off chance that they do, great. But, if they don't, that's just kind of normal.
Yeah. Do you have any pets? Someone wants to know.
We have a 4.5 pound Chihuahua. His name is Gizmo. My wife has had him since the very beginning. He was with my wife before I was with my wife. He's 15 years old.
Oh.
He only likes his mom now. There were a lot of years where he and I had a great relationship. He wants nothing to do with me now, except like 2 o'clock in the morning. He'll occasionally come to my side of the bed and curl up, but usually he's with her. At night, if we're just hanging out and I reach over, he'll be on her. He is like connected to her 24/7, like no joke. She has her own business. She works from home. He spends his day in her lap while she's at her desk.
Because she always worked from home.
Out here, yeah, she had an office in LA for a bit, and then the office burned down, and that was the end of her having an office.
Because I was going to say maybe her starting to work from home is when he became very dependent.
She brought him to the office when she had one.
Yeah, see, that's how I would be. He
bites me now, like at night. If we're just hanging out and I reach over to pet him, he will bite me. I am not allowed to touch him.
I think it might be age. Sometimes, when you're not like feeling your best, you just want your mom.
Yeah.
I think that might be it.
That is where he's at. That is a good point.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we've got a new one. We keep birds, and this is the third one. And I'm noticing the husband is who the birds always go to for fun. But when it comes to like food or like cleaning things, it's me. I'm really glad I never had kids. Because you know what I mean? I want to do the fun stuff. If you were an animal, what would you be and why?
I would be a dog. Absolutely. Yeah. I am as loyal as the dogs are. I like to have as much fun as the dogs have.
I love that.
I am a dog.
So scary moving, weird. What did the wife think about moving to Texas? How does it feel starting the new job? Did you feel like the new kid at school? Because you've been with Dion for a long time.
There's a lot packed in there. So for me, coming to Scribe was something that had been a goal for me for 3 years, and finally the opportunity was there, and I was so happy about it. I had also already left Long Island. I moved away from family. My wife lived in the town that she was born in and grew up in, and her family is still there. She never had that leaving home experience. So it was definitely a different feeling and vibe for her than it was for me. But she's a trooper, and we're figuring it out, and I try to be the best I can for her.
How long have you been in Texas?
Since August 2021.
Okay, so because I can tell your wife from me, I have a history of moving my husband to a different country like every year. So basically what would happen, I did the first I think 15 years, every year I would move, right? I'd pack up, I'd hate where I was, and we had to move because I've always wanted to live in so-and-so, and we'd pack everything up and get rid of everything else and move to so-and-so, and I'd love it for the first month or 2 or 3, and then I'd go off it and I'd hate it, and I'd get homesick and bitterly regret leaving the last so-and-so. And I would be like, right, we're moving again. And so I'd start planning, and I'd spend the next 6 months dieting and planning our new move and saving money to go to so-and-so else. and I did that. The man has the patience of a saint. But long story short, you will get homesick. And I see it with Americans moving to the UK all the time. You always get homesick. and when homesick hits you, you can be all the trooper in the world, but you bitterly hate the new place because it's not home.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like home, but it goes away. You just have to be made to stay there long enough.
All right. I'm going to do my best.
So she will get over, it will start seeming like home. But if she completely, totally, because you're very nice, you're like, she's a trooper. But just between you and I, if she does hate it, it's normal. If she's never moved, it's totally normal. I mean like hate it, like all these people are disgusting.
Well, that hasn't come up yet.
it's home. It's just homesick. It's just homesick. You start to did you go through it the first time you left? Did you ever get that homesickness? Stupid LA people.
I think to some extent I did. My whole life, I had a very close relationship with my mother. And that was sort of the hardest thing for me when I left Long Island, that mom was not right there anymore.
Yeah.
So I definitely remember going through that in the early years in LA.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. I do. Eventually, I got too tired to keep moving. But so you're there, new job. Was it like being the new boy in school?
No, Scribe is a whole different. It's just different. You know, I had already had a relationship with many. I don't want to say many because there's like 90 full-time tribe members or something. Not everybody works on site.
But Texans are really friendly, aren't they?
They are
really friendly.
So when they flew me out here in July to sort of meet everybody and give us a chance to find a place to live. And I'll never forget walking through the door, like everybody lost their shit. They were just so excited to have me here. I got Jess, who had, been the main communicator with me through the onboarding process, just kind of grabbed me and went around, and we went room to room, table to table, desk to desk, introduced me to everybody. I was like, we got through that. And I was like, yeah, we're going to have to do that about 75 more times.
So you haven't started crawling on the floor, scaring them yet, I assume.
No, we're not. I don't think the comfort level is there yet. And also this is an open office. Like, it's hard. There's not a lot of places to hide.
Yeah, I can see that. So you're settling in. You've been there a while now. You're settling in. I love that. Do you have cowboy boots yet?
I'm never going to have cowboy boots.
I've got cowboy boots. You gotta have some cowboy boots.
Okay, the reason I'm never going to have cowboy boots, like I told you before, my dad took off when I was about 10 years old. My dad thought he was a cowboy. Nobody knows why he thought he was a cowboy. He thought he was a cowboy.
He was from the East Coast.
Yeah, right. That's not. It's just the logic there didn't make sense in that. I guess of the physical traits, I take after my dad far more than in my appearance. I take after my dad far more than I take after my mom. And my dad was just an asshole. He's just not a good person in any way, shape, or form. So for me, it gets deep. My wife will joke about it. She's like, I'm going to get you a cowboy hat. And I'm like, you're never going to get, it's not going to.
Yeah.
Nope.
Well, but you know what? That goes back to what we were saying about your brother and how his love of certain things music was passed down to you. You also make decisions, don't you, when you're very young, of what you don't like. Yeah. And those decisions, that's why I'm with my husband, because I had a list. You know how women have lists of what they're looking for with men? I had a very bad boyfriend. And so I had a list of all the things I hated about him, and my husband ticked the opposite. And so I married him.
There you go.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? But you learn your lessons well. If you're burned or have a bad experience, you learn, nope. I just don't blame you. So
enough of that.
No cowboy boots. Yeah, it's smart though, and we love the things we love because we love the people, and we hate the things we hate because people. I like that. Yeah, that makes sense. I do have some gorgeous cowboy boots. So. Okay, so Melissa says, what is something you've never been able to do well?
Lots of things. I don't necessarily think I do anything well, but like,
Well, you do a lot well, but what about like, are you afraid of heights? Are you afraid of
when
anything? Anything
when I
you're
was
like,
a when I was a kid, I was definitely afraid of heights, and then at some point, I jumped 18,000 feet out of an airplane, and once the chute caught, I asked the guy how to get a job doing this. It was an amazing experience. There was no, I mean, he's like, swing your feet, swing your legs over the edge of the plane. And there was no fear. It was just beautiful. It was just beautiful. The thing I didn't understand about that is you could jump, I think it was like 13,000 feet, 16,000 feet, or 18,000 feet. And I'm like, why, if you're going to do this, maximize.
no, 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 no.
Like, no, like public speaking. I don't think I do public speaking well necessarily. I have a horrible sense of rhythm as a guitarist, just absolutely horrible.
But you're an
Um,
audio guy, so is rhythm, see, but have you ever taken singing? I challenge you because I'm taking singing lessons and I thought I was tone deaf. Maybe if you take singing lessons, you'll find that you have an amazing sense of rhythm. No?
I don't think singing is going to help me find the rhythm. I can't
No?
sing. I can't sing. I can't hold a note. Like, I'm not a singer in any way, shape, or form.
But maybe you are, and it's a hidden talent.
A hidden talent. We'll
I'm
see.
I'm still wondering why you were crazy enough to agree to jump out of a plane. Like, what was the
It,
thought process there for a guy that was afraid of heights? Was it like one day you were like, oh, I'll just test myself?
no, I don't even think the fear was there when that sort of came. It was with a couple of guys from Dion Audio. Like, we just kind of decided to go jump out of a plane up in
So
Santa
your buddies
Barbara.
were doing it.
So we went, and that was that. I mean, an epically beautiful experience. It was a 60-second free fall. The shoot
Oh my
caught
God.
is just
You conquered your
wild.
fear and you tested yourself. I love that. Not enough to ever do anything like that in my life, but I love the thought. I'm afraid of heights. I'm like properly afraid of like the
Oh,
tiniest child's hill.
you should totally do it. Jump out of a plane. It'll change your whole perspective.
Yeah, no. So do you have you ever tried to narrate?
Here's a story. I got a story for you. Yes, I have narrated one book. Um, we were, this was in the Dion Audio days. We were casting a book that Marie Force had written. The book is called Sex God. And I was not casting the book. We had our casting team was handling casting on this, and we put up auditions, and we run, I mean, the best of the best. This was a dual narration, so there's going to be a male reader and a female reader. She turns down every major male narrator you can think of in the industry that reads stuff like this, every single one. It made no sense. It made zero sense why she was turning these guys down. And my casting person on that, it was Mimi Chang. She is frustrated as hell that this author is rejecting everybody. She comes into the room, she looks at me and she's like, do you want to audition for this? And I was like, I've been doing this long enough. Why not? And she's like, do you want to like read it? Do you want to review it? Do you want to get ready? I'm like, no, we're just going to do a cold read. Like, what? I'm not going to get this job. I'm not going to invest any more time in it than is necessary. So we go in, I lay down the audition. We have a great laugh over it. I come in the next day. The whole team is crying, like hysterically laughing, crying, because Marie Force wrote and said that my voice is dreamy and she wanted me to narrate the book.
What was your first thought when you heard that?
I thought they were joking.
You
I
thought they were
didn't-
getting back at you for jumping out at
yeah,
them from jog
ex-
door. It's
exactly. But no, she wrote that. She wanted me to narrate. So I didn't narrate under my name. I narrated under the name Dirk Muir, Muir. And I, if you guys want to laugh, I would implore you to look at the reviews on Audible. There is one review in particular that is gonna, it should make you laugh. I mean, I got ripped apart, but it was in the funniest way.
was the writer happy? That's as long as the writer's happy at the end of the day.
I cannot imagine that the author is happy because nobody liked this audiobook.
Uh, what do you think of the experience?
It was a lot of fun. I
Yeah,
loved it.
yeah,
It was, it was one of those things. Like I've directed hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of audiobooks, and I've worked with
yeah.
narrators to get their performance dialed in. I didn't get a director for this job, and I'm not an actor. I've never been an actor. So I hit this part, not to say that all of my narration, like it, I'm not a narrator. I'm not a narrator, but I hit this one part in particular where there's like 4 or 5 women talking to each other. And I'm like, I have no idea how to do this. Like, no idea how to do that. I have no training. I've walked narrators through this. I'm trying to walk myself through it by telling myself things I would tell a narrator. Nothing's working.
I'm
It
getting a
was,
request. Somebody says, what's the name of the book? Was it Sex God?
Sex God, and it was written by Marie Force.
Marie Force. You do know that like 400 narrators are now going to be listening to Sex God. And you do know, you know what's funny? I just had a thought, because you know how we always send out these contact letters every 8 weeks. I'd be really curious as to what all your contact letters say, like next month, once this has hit YouTube and everyone's, you're going to be getting all these. We're all going to be asking you totally questions that have nothing to do with audio.
That's all right.
I do have a quick, I don't want to miss it. Alex wants to know, and I'm not allowed to forget to ask you this. Somebody even asked before the call. They want to know how running a marathon will impact your work. Have you already run it? Are you going to run it?
I already ran it.
You already ran it. How much training did you have to do for something like that?
It was either 16 weeks or 18 weeks.
Of running like hours?
Yeah, it was a gradual scale up. I think, I mean, I had already been running around 18 miles a week across 4 runs. So it was sort of a scaling up from there. And the furthest I had ran in my life prior to this was 8 miles. And that was an accident. The day I ran 8 miles, I went out to do a 4-mile run in LA, and I got lost, and it turned into an 8-mile run. I didn't have a phone. I couldn't call
Yeah,
Uber.
that's LA.
I just kept running until I found a familiar road. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think it's impacting your work?
In a couple different ways. Work impacted me. Coming to Scribe unlocked a piece of the puzzle that I needed to get this done. So this marathon journey actually started when I listened to David Goggins' audiobook. If you folks haven't listened to David Goggins, listen to his audiobook.
Okay.
The dude has a hell of a story, like hell of a story. Now, I don't know what it was about that book with what that dude has gone through and what he has accomplished. I came out of that book with the idea that I'm going to run a marathon.
I love that.
That was the takeaway. So I start training, and it sort of started. It would start and stop and start and stop, and I would never really commit. I'd look and be like, "Oh, the LA Marathon is coming up," but I would never really commit, never do it. So, fast forward a couple of years, here I am at Scribe. I'm in the first or second state of the company meeting. The CEO was talking about. Our CEO went out to Vegas and did a workout session with David Goggins, and he talks about how, David Goggins drives in discipline. You have to be disciplined to do stuff. but our CEO unlocked something for me, because I'm not David Goggins. I'm never going to be as disciplined as David Goggins was. Like that dude, that dude may as well be from another planet with what exists inside him that pushes him to accomplish the shit he's
Ooh, I
accomplished.
need to get that audiobook.
And to pull him out of what he came out of, like, yeah, you got to listen.
Yeah.
But our CEO says it's about choice. You have to make the choice to be disciplined. You have to make the choice to do the training. You have to make the choice to keep going. And that unlocked so much for me, hearing those words. It had such an impact. And I told him this, and he kind of downplays it. He's like, yeah, you did all the work. But he wasn't out there on my training runs when I'm at 16 miles and my legs are killing me and I can't go any further. And I just simply say to myself, I'm going to keep going because I choose to keep going. I'm not going to stop because I choose not to stop.
That's what Melissa Benson says, because she does CrossFit. She's like crazy about it in a nice way, Melissa. But she says, and I'll never forget, I get up and I do it. And if I start not wanting to do it, I just say, don't argue with yourself. And I'll never forget that. You see, you say these things and they stick with people. And you, unlike you, I haven't said it to myself in those moments when I should be doing it, but I will
give it a shot.
I love that. I love that you did it. I love that.
Yeah, the marathon was this past Sunday.
Is it going to spread to other areas of your life, though? I bet it does, though. That feeling of discipline that you know now you have faith in yourself that you can make yourself do it.
I think so. I mean, I've always had a strong work ethic.
Yeah.
That has just always been in me. I learned that from, the folks I grew up with and the adults I was exposed to when I was growing up. But finishing a marathon like that, it's a hell of an accomplishment. And it was a lot of work that went into doing it. And at 20 miles, I had a fuck it moment. And I had to walk for a bit.
Alex says running a marathon is life-changing. Alex is the one that asked the question. And I beg to differ because I have an unbelievable work ethic, but when it's outside your comfort zone, do you see what I'm saying? Running a marathon just seems like, like jumping out of a plane, like not even a possibility.
There's a part of me that is driven by things like that. Now, not necessarily to a tremendous extreme, but like I love surfing. And there's some inherent risks that go along when you're surfing. The wave height is involved, what's underneath you, are the sharks floating around, you don't know what's going to happen. Jumping out of a plane, sure, the chute might not catch, something could go wrong. Running a marathon is it's another challenge. I've always sort of been drawn to the physical challenges and getting them. And I'd like to do more of them than I have.
You've done a lot. You've done more than most people in a life. Okay, now I'm conscious. I've got one last question, you guys. I might lose my broadband this evening, so I want to make sure we wrap up at a good time, and I cannot miss the final question. When people are in school, I'm going to time capsule. When people, I've got a mental block with that word. When people are in school, I've always heard they'll like dig a hole and they'll bury a time capsule and everyone will get to put something inside that you can pick up in like 20 or something years. Now, for the audience that are going to watch this video in like 60 years, what would you put in your time capsule? A funny joke, final words of wisdom? What would you like to leave people with? What do you think is important? What do you think screams death that they would like think of you immediately if they opened it? Anything you want. What would you put in the time capsule?
That's hard. That's a hard one for what would I put in that? I don't know.
Or words you'd want to leave people with that you'd want them to remember, or something you learned that you wished you'd known your whole life that you learned later in life, or what is the essence of Jeff?
I don't take life too seriously. I try to have fun with whatever is going on and create fun in the atmosphere or whatever, wherever I'm at. I get along with people. I go about things in an easy way. When there's some sort of huge, ginormous problem, I just try to break it down into like simple chunks that I can wrap my head around. So I want people to be happy and enjoy life like that. I guess that's been
But
put in
think
my
about it.
past.
It's basically keep it simple. That is like, when they ask like really old people, like, you've lived to 160 years old. What's your secret? And aside from that woman that said it was eating a hard-boiled egg and having gin every day, most of them say something exactly like you. Like, be nice to people, keep it simple. I like that. Make friends, have fun, be nice. I like
Yeah,
that. And in
me
the end of the
too.
day, you're probably a lot happier, and then keep challenging yourself. I really like that. Yeah,
You helped me figure that out. Thank you.
I really like that. You do know that's going up as the heading of this video. It's so good. Be happy, make friends. This has been pure joy. I was a tiny bit intimidated. You were my first publisher after we've almost had almost 100 calls, I think. Some of them in the beginning didn't go up as well. And you were my first publisher. And what a wonderful publisher to choose as the first.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to come back whenever you want me. I
You're
love talking
welcome
to
back
people.
anytime. You better watch out because you might be hearing from me soon.
Hell, Daniela, we can make this a weekly thing if you want.
And then I can get all the scoop on how Scribe's going, and yeah, I can't wait. And how
There's
Texas is.
we just started expansion. We're expanding the office and building a studio here. We're going to start recording audiobooks in here, and construction like literally just started. There used to be a brewery next to us, and the brewery did not survive COVID or something. So we're
Oh,
taking over the space. This place is going to look amazing. I mean, it already looks really nice, but it's going to look amazing
right.
when all is said and done. Yeah.
Well, after what you've said about them, I have a good feeling,
Oh yeah.
because when you start from those roots, human being to human being, that's what matters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fabulous. It's been wonderful. Thank you guys for
Definitely.
joining. Mwah!
Thank you,
And
everyone.
we'll
Thank
see
you
you
for the
again very
questions.
soon.
Nice to see your faces.
You got a lot of fans. You got a lot of fans, I got to tell you. Everyone was like, Jeff's my friend. And that's
The
good.
feeling is mutual.
Bye, Jeff. Bye. Bye,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.